Another topic. Are Australian federal police officers under any orders at certain demonstrations to not intervene when they see an offence being committed?
No, Senator.
We see the issue of illegal flags being raised at some demonstrations. Illegal Hezbollah flags, Hamas flags. Why wasn't action taken?
So, Senator, there's a few things I would say to that. Primarily, it's our state and territory colleagues that are policing public order in protest activities. So the AFP doesn't generally have a frontline presence at protest activity.
You haven't got jurisdiction?
Sorry?
You haven't got jurisdiction, say in Sydney at a big protest? Only in Canberra? It's
not our primary role. It's primarily the role of the states and territories. They are better equipped and trained to deal with large public order matters. So we obviously provide support to them and some specialist capability where it's required. But they are primarily the ones on the front line at the protest activity. They also have access to utilising this legislation, and in fact there have been other state and territory colleagues, counterparts that have used this legislation in relation to the prohibited hate symbols. The other point I would make is that there are a lot of tactics that go into policing protests and into maintaining law and order and public order in particularly mass protest activity. So it is quite a simplified expectation that police officers would be immediately arresting on the spot. There is a lot of consideration that would go into tactical decision making around whether it would be the right decision to immediately intervene and arrest in a mass protest activity, and that is where our state and territory colleagues have the specialist skills and training.
So 2 questions. Thank you for that.
I'll have to wrap you up in a minute, Malcolm, anyway.
Sorry?
Sorry, Senator. I'll have to wrap you up in a second anyway. So if you've got 1 or 2 questions.
Okay, thank you. Is there any... Do you have jurisdiction in Sydney, for example, or in the state?
So,
apart
Senator,
from airports,
we have jurisdiction for Commonwealth offences. So, under Commonwealth legislation, our state and territory colleagues have state legislation that allows them to enforce public order in those situations. As I've already said, they also have access to Commonwealth legislation around some of these applicable offences as well.
Is one of the last question? Is one of the considerations as to whether or not to take action to arrest someone who's demonstrating with a hate flag or hate symbol, the need to be seen to be enforcing the law? Because people are just shocked that these people are getting away with breaking the law willy-nilly in front of the police's eyes.
So, Senator, there is a number of grounds that have to be satisfied before a police officer can arrest someone under the Commonwealth legislation. There's 6 or 7 grounds for arrest, so it's not as simple as just making a decision to arrest somebody. It has to be either to prevent the continuation of offence, prevent the loss, destruction of evidence, ensure a witness's appearance before a person's appearance before court. There are a number of elements that you have to satisfy yourself of before you make a decision to deprive someone of their liberty. I can tell you that every police officer takes the decision to make an arrest very seriously because, as I said, you are depriving someone of their liberty. The other thing I will just make the point is that every police officer has the independent office of constable. So I can't direct someone to make an arrest in any situation. It is an individual decision made by the individual police officer, and they themselves have to be satisfied that they've met the grounds for arrest under the Commonwealth legislation.
One of those grounds, thank you, one of those grounds was the continuation of an offence. Isn't letting people continue to march with a hate symbol a continuation of an offence?
Yes, in most circumstances it could be, but I'll just take you back to my earlier point as well, that there's a lot of other factors, particularly in mass protest situations where you've got big crowds and you've got high emotions and you've got a lot of passion and propensity for violence or disorderly behaviour. There's a lot of tactics that goes around policing large demonstrations like that.
Thank you, Chair.
Not
you.
Not the least in terms of officer safety as well.
Thanks, Senator Roberts.